The morning sun beat down on the training yard, baking the dirt to a cracked, dusty crust. Private Cole's voice rang out across the compound, sharp and cruel, carrying over the rhythmic thuds of boots on gravel. "Look at those scars, she must have lost every fight she's ever been in." His words hung in the air like the smell of gunpowder after a shot. The cluster of recruits around him snickered, their eyes flicking toward the solitary figure standing near the weapons rack. Lena Hart didn't react. She simply adjusted her gloves with deliberate, practiced movements, the puckered skin on her forearms catching the morning light like ribbons of tarnished silver. The scars weren't just on her arms, they crept up past her collar, disappearing beneath her uniform like the roots of some ancient tree. The silence that followed Cole's remark wasn't the respectful kind, it was the heavy, uncomfortable silence of people who knew something was wrong but wouldn't speak up. No one called her by her full name anymore. To the new recruits, she was just the scarred woman, a walking cautionary tale about what happened when you weren't good enough. Some whispered she'd been reckless. Others said she wasn't fit to train with them. The braver ones who actually spoke to her found her voice steady but her words few, as if each one cost her something precious. Cole, young and brash with his unmarked skin and easy confidence, watched her with a smirk. To him, Lena was a relic, a warning of what failure looked like. He'd never seen real combat, never known the gut-churning terror of an ambush or the metallic taste of blood in the air. War was still an abstract concept to him, a game where the good guys won and the bad guys lost, where heroes came home whole and only the weak returned broken. What Cole couldn't possibly understand, what none of them could, was that Lena's silence wasn't weakness. It was the weight of memory pressing down on her like a physical thing. 5 years ago, she'd walked the sun-bleached streets of Marjo with a unit that never made it home. The ambush had come at high noon, when the shadows were shortest and the light most unforgiving. She remembered the child most clearly, no older than her nephew back home, his eyes wide with a fear that had nothing to do with the gun in her hands. She'd spotted the bulky backpack too late, seen the wires a heartbeat before the world turned white and hot. The blast had torn through her squad like paper, skin and steel rending alike in the concussive wave. Lena had dragged her captain through 3 blocks of burning rubble, her arms screaming in protest as the melted fabric of her uniform fused with the fresh burns beneath. She remembered the smell most of all, burning flesh and cordite and something sweet underneath it all, like overcooked caramel. Her call sign then had been Echo 6, the one who answers back when all others fall silent. But medals tarnish with time, and stories fade when no one's left to tell them. She'd returned home disfigured but alive, only to find herself on a different kind of battlefield, the quiet war of being forgotten, of becoming invisible in plain sight. Now, standing in the shadow of the barracks, she watched the new recruits with their bright eyes and unbroken skin, and she said nothing. She never corrected them. Never explained. General Stanton had been watching from his office window, his coffee going cold in his hand. He knew that particular tilt of Lena's head, the way her shoulders set when she was biting back words. Stanton had seen Lena carry 2 wounded soldiers through a kill zone, had watched her stand her ground against orders that would have left good men behind. He'd buried enough of his own to recognize the shape of silent valor when he saw it. The general's boots crunched on the gravel as he strode into the yard, the recruits snapping to attention like marionettes pulled taut. All except Cole, who was slow to wipe the smirk from his face. "Private Cole," Stanton began, his voice deceptively calm, like the still air before a storm breaks. "You find those scars amusing?" Cole's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. I didn't mean anything by it, sir. Just joking around." Stanton's gaze could have cut glass. "Some scars aren't reminders of what was lost," he said, his words measured and heavy. "They're the reason anyone came home at all." He turned to Lena, and when he spoke again, his voice carried across the suddenly silent yard. "Report to the front, Echo 6. The reaction was immediate. A ripple went through the recruits, postures straightening, eyes widening. Cole's face drained of color so fast it was almost comical. Everyone knew that call sign. Echo 6 wasn't just a soldier, she was the ghost story passed between deployments, the name whispered in barracks after lights out. The medic who'd held the Marjo crossroads alone for 6 hours. The one who'd disappeared from official reports but lived on in the hushed stories veterans told each other over bad coffee and worse whiskey. Lena stepped forward, her scars catching the light like battle ribbons. The yard was so quiet now you could hear the fabric of her uniform rustle as she moved. She stopped inches from Cole, close enough that he could see the fine web of scar tissue around her eyes, the way one ear was slightly misshapen from old burns. "Scars don't mean I lost," she said, her voice low but carrying to every corner of the yard. "They mean I survived things you can't imagine." There was no anger in her words, just the simple weight of truth. Cole looked like he might be sick. The general let the moment hang, his gaze sweeping across the assembled recruits. Some of you fight for glory, he said. Echo 6 fights for the ones who can't fight for themselves. Remember that. In the weeks that followed, something shifted in the training yard. The whispers stopped. The recruits no longer avoided Lena Station during drills. Instead, they watched her, really watched her, the way she moved, the economy of her motions, the way she could field strip a weapon blindfolded. They began matching her pace during runs, mimicking her breathing exercises before range time. Not to impress, but to understand. To honor. Cole sought her out one evening as the sun bled red over the barracks. He didn't offer excuses or ask for forgiveness. Just stood there, his hands clenched at his sides, and said, "I didn't know." Lena studied him for a long moment, her storm gray eyes unreadable. "That's the problem," she said finally. "People see the skin but never look deep enough to find the story beneath." When Lena's transfer orders came through months later, the recruits lined up without being told. No speeches were made, no grand gestures offered. Just a single file of soldiers standing at perfect attention as she walked by, their salutes crisp and silent. The respect in that quiet moment was louder than any cheering crowd could have been. Some heroes get parades and medals pinned to their chests. Others carry their stories in the map of scars across their skin, in the weight of the lives they couldn't save, in the quiet spaces between words. True strength isn't about being unbroken, it's about bearing the breaks with dignity, about answering when called even when no one remembers your name.